You're listening to Barbell Logic,
the podcast where we talk about what it means to experience strength
and how you can use simple, hard, and effective strategies in training and nutrition to improve your life.
It starts with meeting you where you are right now and finding lasting solutions.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Barbell Logic podcast. This is Beast Over Burden. I'm Niki Sims.
Hello, this is Andrew Jackson.
Hello. Andrew's laughing at me, and I'm not sure why.
But the camera setup is absurd right now. I feel like, you know, in Lord of the Rings, how they made all the Hobbit actors look like miniatures.
So in this setting, I am Gandalf, and you are Bilbo.
This is hilarious.
Or that commercial that we've been seeing watching football with Kevin Hart and LeBron James.
Oh, yeah. Right. They somehow make Kevin Hart like remotely not small.
Right.
I don't know how they do it. Like,
yeah, that was some trickery.
He's sitting further away in the screen, in the shot, and somehow they make him look like almost the same size as LeBron.
When in reality, he could fit right inside of LeBron James' pocket.
Probably up to his knee.
Yeah.
Anyways.
But I won't use this power seat to my advantage.
Yes. None of our listeners can see it.
Well, now that we told everybody to work out, even if they're tired, I bet there are still some people out there who have maybe gotten out of the groove of training.
Yeah. What do you do if you haven't been working out? I would imagine is a common problem. I've had stretches of it as well. I think we both train the fear of God about stopping because we don't want to have to go through what I honestly think is the hardest part. I never want to have to start.
Yeah, that restarting. How long do you think it takes for that to feel terrible? Is it like 3 days off? Is it 2 weeks off?
I think the slope is sort of flat for 5 days. 3 to 5 days. And then it's like
your performance line.
Yeah. And my experience has been the older you get, the faster that decline is.
Yes.
The cliff after 3 to 5 days just is tremendous. And it's nonlinear. It's like step function. It's like after about a week and a half, you might as well just restart your LP.
It's like you have no muscle on your skeleton and everything is so heavy. And you're stiff.
I actually think stopping after you've been training and you do have muscle is almost worse because you stop for a week and a half, you still have all the muscle. And then you get back under the bar and you're like, your body's like, well, let's put this back to use. And then you explode for like the next 2 weeks of soreness as the muscles, I don't know what the heck happens. I don't know. I don't understand the physiological process, like what exactly is decaying, but the soreness, particularly from squats after taking time off, is the most demoralizing aspect of it to me.
It's brutal. The first empty bar set is really very humbling.
And then 2, 3, 4, 5 days after that.
Yeah.
That's what I've changed in my coaching the most, I would say, is programming the squat after taking time off.
Yeah.
I'm so freaking conservative.
It's really interesting too, because I'm thinking about when someone does a powerlifting meet, there's usually 7 to 10 days of very light training at very low volume. And I'm talking like 2 sets of 3 at like 60% and super low. And, you know, aiming for there to be a day of really high performance. But still, the first week back after a powerlifting meet, You kind of go through the same thing. Like you're not ready for volume. You feel really sore and tired. And so it's like once you lose that momentum, the inertia of volume and frequency, like you just feel so depleted. And there is something about how much glycogen you're storing in your muscles when you're doing high volume. When you don't do that anymore, it's visible actually. Like people even like will deflate a little bit when they're not doing all those, especially lower body reps and sets.
It's one of the reasons why my enjoyment of competition is challenged. I'll put it. I'm I want to be careful with how I word this because we just talked about how awesome competition is. Like, with the International Barbell Federation competition coming up. If you've signed up, please keep that on your calendar.
You can navigate the post-competition training.
Yeah, there's
It's very
definitely a way to
possible.
get through it. And well, and that's maybe what we should be talking about. I think that's really what the subject of this is. It's just that I dread coming back from a break so much that I have essentially eliminated breaks. And it's why I'm such a huge proponent of even just doing body weight, dumbbell, dog food bag, some kind of squat on vacation, even if it's just 3 sets of 10 body weight on some sort of little Cindy or lunges on the beach. There's something about that eccentric full deep lunge range of motion that's so rarely used unless you intentionally go out of your way to do it. I think going out of your way to incorporate that when you take a break is crucial. But anyways, we're jumping ahead. The point being is just why I think it's so hard to come back for a couple of reasons. There's the physiological resistance, and maybe even more than that, depending on the type of break it was, you lose the habit in your day. So in my experience, the effort that it takes and the energy that it takes to change your habits is exponentially greater than once it's in momentum. It's just like changing velocity. The amount of power it takes to accelerate is exponentially more energy than maintaining that velocity. I was thinking it would be interesting to talk about some tools, some tips, some tricks, how you've managed it, maybe some ideas about how I've managed it with some of my clients, to the coaches that are out there listening to it, what they might want to consider from their client's perspective, how to help people get going again.
Yeah. And what we tend to do, whether we know we're doing this or not, is I think we give the kind of mindset model for things like this, and then we give the physical model for things like this.
Yes.
And the mindset one for this one, I think, is super important.
Agreed.
Because, of course, you're going to be faced with comparing yourself to where you were, and that's hard because you're not there right now. So you want to tackle the mind or the body first?
Mindset. I think we actually both posted on social media independently aspects of the mindset that I think are critical. I got fired up yesterday when I saw James Clear posting about your identity being the key, changing your identity being the key to changing your habits and your behavior. And I think that's true with lifting. My identity, I identify as a lifter, as somebody who's training. That's part of my life, just like brushing my teeth, taking a shower. I know that I feel better and more the version of myself that I identify as when I'm training. And the process of training more than the weight on the bar, especially recently, whether it's because of injury or travel, life in general, I place more value on showing up and going to the gym training than I do on hitting a particular number. The latter follows from the behavior.
And so when there comes a time during which your actions are not aligned with who you believe you are, that's when it feels stressful. That's when, when you identify as someone who trains and then you're in a set of circumstances, whether you've chosen to be in those circumstances or not, where you don't go to the gym, you don't engage in bodyweight squats, you don't do those. Now all of a sudden you're kind of out of alignment with your beliefs and your identity.
Yeah, it feels more like a pressure or a pull towards the activity. It's not even guilt anymore. It's just, I feel movement towards figuring out how to incorporate some level of training in all circumstances. Ideally, that's 4 times a week for 60 to 90 minutes a session. And it might just be going for a 10-minute walk after dinner. Or it might be going down to the hotel gym and picking up some dumbbells and trying to mimic the closest movement I can to squat, some sort of press, and some sort of hinge.
Yeah.
Or pull. It has like that Arnold Schwarzenegger quote where he talks about brushing your teeth. You don't wake up in the morning and try to think about how you're going to fit brushing your teeth into the day. You just do it. And if you don't brush your teeth, you feel gross and you just have these like physiological signals that are pulling you or driving you to go brush your teeth.
You feel wrong.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's even gotten to the point now where,
it feels wrong.
and if I have a couple of too many drinks, I'm just like, I need to go squat. This is horrible. Like, how quickly can I go squat? Because I know the minute I'm done squatting, I'll feel 1,000,000 times better.
Yeah. So it's about, and this is interesting because it's like about getting back to feeling good, which you've defined for yourself. And then there's the struggle of when you first get back into training, it probably doesn't feel very good.
That's the hurdle with, I think, any behavior change. That's the energy. But that's a strategy that I think James Clear framed it well in Atomic Habits, where one of the things you can do is bring the positive feeling into the present from the future to encourage the behavior change in the moment.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is largely what I'm doing. I don't know that I really consciously thought of it that way, but I'm just like, oh, I know on the other side of these squats, I know what I'm going to feel like. And that motivates me enough to go through.
But that's a physical feeling for you. It's
yes, for sure.
Like, I know you feel something in your body, you feel something in your legs. Like it feels like this, like, I don't want to use the D word, but detox.
Discharge.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, it's even gotten to the point where the discomfort I associate with good things. Like if I feel congested or, like I said, hungover or stiff from sitting in a plane all day, being under compression, in like at the bottom of the squat or at the bottom of the leg press is just like my whole body
like
just kind of it uncoils a little, or it just I don't know, the moment of pressurization and then the release from the pressure is like, oh yes, the body likes that accordion.
Yeah, I felt that too on leg stuff. I don't feel it as much on like arms. I can make myself feel that way with like heavy back stuff, but like a leg press and some good squats, I get that feeling too of just like, oh, okay, I'm doing what I want to be doing. I literally feel better in the moment. And it's like a bit of a reset.
Yeah, I would agree. The squat is the one I feel that the most on, or leg press. Like it's that larger range of motion and the pressurization of my head.
Yeah.
Although the deadlift, I actually had a client just post this today. He was looking forward to the deadlifts all day because his back was sort of bugging him. And there's something about the deadlift that helped, that contracting his spinal erectors is a relief to him.
That's amazing.
So, I mean, we've kind of blurred the lines now into the physical component of it, but it's a bit of a mindset.
I will say one more thing about the mindset is I have learned that during those times, it's better to take a lot of weight off the bar and have a lot of runway than it is to get as close as you can to what you can do right now in the moment and keep pushing that. I find it's knowing that if you create a lot of runway right in the beginning, and I mean for like a week or two, you are doing the month away from now you so many favors. And so getting back into the mindset of like, it's not about today, it's about next week is very important, because I have experienced for myself too many people that if you do a lot too soon, you really crash the next week. You feel okay for the first week, the next week goes terribly. So I think it's the mindset of preparing yourself for next week and then the week after that.
Yeah, the coaching that I gave to this most recent client whose father passed away, and that led to a bunch of travel because family was on the East Coast, and obviously a lot of the preparation and logistics took him out of his normal training schedule. So it was like almost 2 weeks off. And my coaching to him was very similar. It was essentially that I wanted him to go into the sessions with the goal of feeling good, and setting the goal, setting the bar or the target. There's no number that I'm looking for. I'm looking for him simply to go through full range of motion with some load, but to stop while it still feels good.
Totally.
And that the successful session is walking away feeling good. Tactically, I like to ideally, if possible, start with an upper body day. I find that to be just kind of a little bit easier to enter back into the flow of, it's a little bit less logistics of suiting up and knee sleeves and shoes and things like that. You can kind of go in, especially if it's a home gym situation, go in and just knock it out. But same principle can apply if it's full body, 3 lift kind of a day. And I would say tactically also, I try to, along with keeping the load not the focus, I suggest doing ascending sets.
Love those. Yes.
And I also, it's hit or miss actually on this, but sometimes I'll encourage it to be a pause squat, particularly on the pause, but sometimes that's backfired. I don't know, like
Yeah.
sometimes that creates like more of an eccentric soreness kind of a thing. But, I'm thinking of the examples where it works well might be because it limited the amount of weight that they were able to put on the bar. So that might have just sort of been it might have worked well for the people that have a tendency to overdo the first day back. But if you do the ascending set and just stop on the last set of 5 that feels good and just add 5 or 10 pounds and call it a day. Don't worry about it. Move on. Totally agree with that strategy.
Yeah. Ascending sets are really good. Also, I think that is helpful on paper because there are times when coming back into a workout and you see your workout, it looks really daunting. And so like the finish line seems really far away. And there's something fun about ascending sets where sometimes the first one is just kind of like, it's warm up. And then it's like, whoa, I only have 2 more sets. Boom.
Yeah.
And you're on to the next one.
Totally.
So I think it kind of pulls you through the session in a really successful way.
Yeah. It almost feels like winning.
Yes.
Where, instead of having to be like, oh man, what's my, that
4x5, 3x6, 3x10.
Okay. I finally warmed up to the weight. Now I'm starting.
Yeah.
Instead. And I try to, unless it's somebody that's brand new, I try to lately give them the weights that I want.
Yeah, same.
Because I'll just be super conservative and then they get to feel like they get a win instead of having to take ownership of picking the weight.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. I notice that I tend to pick the weights because I want them to limit themselves.
Yeah.
Because there's that.
Even RPE 7 is too much pressure.
That's kind of weird. And then that RPE kind of makes you wonder, like, is it even worth it that I'm doing this?
Right.
Yeah, so that's a weird one.
I used to be a big, like, oh yeah, just, RPE 6, RPE 7. Now I'm like, I'll just pick it for them. And then a lot of times they'll come back and do more than that, which, you could argue whether that's good or bad, but it seems like it's a psychological win.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, coach thinks I can only, and I'll show coach.
Right. Yeah. And I imagine that's frustrating because now they have, especially if they're like, yeah, I'm in the gym, like I want it, I'm back, coach, let's do it. And then you're like, okay, you're going to do 2x5 at 65%. And they're just like, what the?
Yeah.
Come on, man. But at the same time, it's like our responsibility to set them up for success in the next week and hold them back from doing, going off the opposite end of the it's, where they're just like, I'm going to eat whatever I want, I'm not going to train. And now they're going to do the everythings. And that's not good either.
Yeah. I think it works though, because of the thing that you posted that was about like optimism.
Yeah.
Increasing your probability of living past 85 by 50%. Or something like. And it reminded me of...
Hilarious.
It's been on social media for a while, I think, but I saw some clip where they're talking about the study where they would drop mice into a pool of water. And with one cohort, they just let the mouse go until it gave up. They wouldn't let it actually drown, but they just wanted to see like how long it would fight. And then with another cohort, they would drop it in and fairly quickly pull it out. And then they would put it back in the water and see how long it would fight to swim the second time in the water. And the ones that were put in a second time after being pulled out quickly would swim for like 8 hours, 9 hours, 10 hours. Like it was like, whereas the cohort that was just left in without being pulled out would give up pretty quickly within like a matter of minutes. The takeaway is if you have hope that you're going to be saved or that you will win or be successful, you'll work harder. And, in this supposedly, in the mouse case, you'll eventually get saved. But
strategic wins.
Long story distilled down to the key point here is that I think a client that goes in with hope and optimism will work harder. And I think buy into a program, which is largely essentially hope and optimism that whatever they're doing is going to work, is at the heart of a program being successful. So I figure, you give them a little bit of a easy weight to hit, as long as they don't completely blow the doors off. They feel a little hope, optimism, build a little momentum. And I think circling back to the original question, that's the key to getting started, is that you've got to be, and from a mindset perspective, focus on hope and optimism that the actions that you're taking, while they might not be where you want to be today, are going to lead to where you want to be in the future.
And there's no amount of work you can do on 1 day or 2 days that is going to get you back to where you were 3 weeks ago. Don't even try.
Right.
You're not going to be able to do it.
Well, and that's what led me to my quick follow-up on the story that probably hit people a couple of different ways, because I got kind of fired up. But it was like, I just took this picture of Braveheart, like covered in blood, just rut charging down the field, Mel Gibson movie.
This is why you got to follow Andrew on Instagram.
But it was because my hope and optimism, it inspires me, fires me up, lights a fire to train, because I think winning in the game of life is not living forever, because obviously nobody does, but it's fighting every single day as hard as you can to make the best of your day with hope and optimism about the future. And I just think I don't know, I just find myself getting fired up to attack the day, to attack your life, to live it to the fullest. And I think training is the most productive thing I can do physically, which also improves my mental acuity, my emotional stability, I'm sure.
And your bod.
And my body by training.
Yeah.
Not because I won the competition or I hit the PR, but because I showed up to train today, and then I'll do it again tomorrow. But taking ownership of my actions today in pursuit of the hope and optimism of where I want to be in the future, that fires me up. That's where I think I get excited about the mindset of it, even when the weight on the bar doesn't excite you.
Yeah.
I think is the problem with setting it's the transition that needs to be made from the initial hook and dopamine hit of adding weight to the bar every session. Powerful stimulant for getting somebody bought in to barbell training during their first 3 to 6 months. Heck of a drug to get somebody hooked on process of training. But eventually you have to mature beyond that, because it doesn't last forever. Nothing lasts forever.
Right. And you can still get a really good effect without it.
Without adding weight every single time. Yes. Right. Totally.
Yep.
There's a good quote I heard the other day. It's Hormozy, I think. Anything works better than nothing. Some things work better than others. And nothing works forever.
Interesting.
And I think that's a great way to think about programming and getting started again. On day one, anything is going to be working better than what you were doing because you weren't doing anything.
Right. You're going from nothing to something. Yeah. Yeah.
And then eventually you can start thinking about which exact something you're doing that will be slightly better or hopefully more optimal than the other things that you could be doing. And then eventually you have to change what your approach is, because you can't just, otherwise we'd all be megalodons squatting 1,000 pounds by just simply adding 5 pounds to the bar.
Yep. Yep. And then, you're going to be sore, and just know that the things that to help with that are getting back into your nutrition that works for you: protein, creatine, water. It'll probably be worse 2 days later, but after you do that next workout back, it's probably going to feel better. It helps with your soreness.
On that note, the soreness is so huge. I mean, have you gotten to the point where the second workout you even kind of start to look forward to, because you're like, motion is lotion. If I can get back under the bar, have another session, I know it's going to be better.
Yeah, for sure. We all know second day soreness is the worst. So it's going to get better, and it feels even better if you move.
I think that might be the crux of the comeback. Day one is often, I don't think, the hardest workout. It's day two, because that's where you're at almost probably peak soreness.
Yeah.
But that's when you have to really be like, okay, time to
go in there. Yeah.
flush it out.
Yep. Awesome. Well, hopefully no one is dealing with circumstances that are pulling them away from their training. But if you are, you can get back. Same concept here. Be smart, be patient, do something. Don't push it any further than you have to, because it's not going to make it any better. You will stop being a lifter. And if you need any more advice, follow Andrew on Instagram. He's full of it.
I've posted like 2 things in the last
That's really good.
6 months. I was going to suggest, if you would like some help getting started, sign up for a client experience call.
Do it. That's what we're here for. We want to talk to you and talk about your training. Sometimes you might be overwhelmed with how to get back into it. Where should you start? Should you start? When should you start? Oh no, you have another trip coming up. Is it even worth it? Yes, it is. But go to barbelllogic.com/experience and get on a call with one of us. It'll be me. It'll be one of the Nikis, me or Nikki Berman, or it'll be Ian, but we'll make sure you get taken care of. Awesome. Thanks for listening. Give us a share. Make sure to subscribe and give us a review, and we'll see you here next week.
Bye-bye.